The training ground of Varga Prime had seen countless warriors rise and fall, yet never in its 10,000-year history had it fallen completely silent. Until today, the galaxy's strongest warriors, champions from every known species, stood in a ring of armored bodies, their glowing eyes fixed on the smallest group present, 6 humans stretching casually beside their worn transport shuttle. For millennia, humanity had been dismissed as latecomers to the galactic stage, a fragile species born on a death world, but considered too undisciplined, too unpredictable, too chaotic to be true contenders. But then came the rumors, whispers carried by traitors, mercenaries, even warlords, claims that the humans trained differently, fought differently, survived differently. The Council dismissed it as exaggeration. The Empress of Kurun called it death world bravado. But the warrior clans wanted proof, and so they invited the humans to demonstrate their training regimen. They expected the humans to show weakness. Instead, they would learn fear. Sergeant Mara Holt stood at the front, her dark hair tied in a tight knot, her expression calm, posture loose, breathing steady. She looked nothing like the armored titans around her. No chitin plating, no scaled hide, no exoskeletal shields. Just soft human skin, a simple vest, and a posture that looked too relaxed for a warrior about to impress the galaxy. "Warm up," she said simply. The warriors leaned in, expecting chants, spirit rituals, or power-boosting technology. Instead, the humans began to run. Not sprint, not jog. They ran in strange patterns, zigzags, circles, sudden stops, sudden starts, and then dropped to the ground to perform push-ups, sit-ups, and movements none of the alien warriors had ever seen. "What are they doing?" growled a 7-foot-tall Karul berserker, gripping his plasma axe. "They are moving," whispered another, confused. "Without weights, without resistance machines, without exosuit amplifiers." But then the humans shifted. Sergeant Mara clapped once. Phase 2, stress conditioning. The humans paired off. What followed was not sparring, not combat drills, but something the galaxy had no word for. The humans began shouting at each other, not in anger, but in encouragement, in challenge. They performed physical drills under psychological pressure, giving orders, switching positions, interrupting each other mid-movement. The observers grew unsettled. "Why are they distracting one another?" asked the crystalline Etherian judge. "Distraction breeds death." "Not for humans," whispered General Terror to the Dravari Dominion. "I've seen them in battle. They grow stronger under chaos." Chaos. It was the perfect word for the human warm-up phase. But then Phase 3 began, and the galaxy's strongest warriors found themselves stepping back. Simulated fear response. Mara announced. The humans strapped small shock devices onto their arms and torsos. Then alarms blared, random, loud, unpredictable. Lights flashed. The ground beneath them trembled as hidden plates activated vibrations and destabilized their footing. The humans kept training through all of it. No fear, no hesitation. If one stumbled, another hauled them back up without losing rhythm. If an alarm blared in their ear, they didn't flinch. The galaxy's strongest warriors stared in disbelief. They trained for perfection, precision, clarity, ritual, controlled environments. But humans train for the worst day of their lives every single day. "Do they do this voluntarily?" asked a massive Thornax gladiator, genuinely horrified. "Yes," whispered an elder Goran monk, and they seemed to enjoy it. Then came the final phase, the demonstration the warrior clans had secretly requested. "Combat demonstration," Sergeant Mara said calmly. One volunteer from the assembly. No warrior moved. No species wanted to be humiliated by a human in front of the galaxy. Finally, the champion of the Varkan Empire stepped forward, the undefeated Titan known as Ralzek the Unbroken. He stood 3 meters tall, his muscles like carved stone, his armored hide thicker than a human skull. He carried a war staff forged from neutron-hardened alloy. He bowed with respect. "Human, I accept your challenge." Mara nodded once. "Rules." "No killing." Agreed. The ring tightened, warriors murmuring, anticipating the human's fear. But she showed none. The duel began with a thunderous crack as Ralzek launched forward. Staff swinging in a wide arc, Mara moved like liquid shadow. No wasted motion, no panic, no telegraphing. She ducked under the strike, stepped inside his guard, tapped his wrist once, and slipped away before he could blink. The assembled warriors blinked. What was that? A strike? A feint? No, said General Terex. A data point. Ralzek lunged again, harder, faster. Again Mara avoided him by millimeters. She wasn't reacting. She was reading him, studying, predicting. Humans weren't stronger. They weren't faster. They weren't armored. But humans were terrifyingly efficient. Over the next minute, Mara tapped 17 specific points on Ralzek's body: joint, tendon, nerve cluster, leverage point. Ralzek began to stumble, his movement slowing as confusion spread across his massive face. "Human," he rumbled, "what are you doing to me?" Mara stepped behind him, tapped the final point on the back of his knee, and the Titan collapsed to the ground, not injured, not unconscious, but unable to stand. She spoke calmly. "You rely on strength. You rely on size. You rely on armor. Humans rely on adaptability. We learn you faster than you learn us." The entire training ground froze. Then a whisper spread like wildfire. Deathworlders, monsters, no! Strategists, but then something unexpected happened. Ralzek, the undefeated champion, the Titan feared across 12 sectors, bowed, lowered his head to the human. "I submit," he said quietly. "And more than that, I envy you." Mara offered a hand. The Titan took it, and the image of a giant being lifted to his feet by a small human woman stunned the galaxy's greatest fighters. But the demonstration wasn't over. Humans, Mara said, formed final state. The 6 humans formed a circle, backs to each other, eyes outward, breath sinking, muscles aligning in absolute unison. The warrior clans recognized the posture instantly. A battlefield formation, a last stand position, a stance taken only by those willing to fight until their final breath. And the humans held it effortlessly like it was second nature. The warriors 100 species understood the message without hearing a single word. Humans don't train to win. Humans train to survive. And those who train to survive become the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. When the humans finally relaxed, the strongest warriors of Varga Prime did something no record in history had ever captured. They applauded, not politely, not formally, ferociously, with respect, with awe, with fear, and with the dawning realization that humanity, small, soft-skinned, chaotic humanity, was not a species to underestimate ever again. Sergeant Mara only smiled. "If you want to train with us," she said calmly, "you're welcome any time. But be warned." She glanced around the ring, her eyes sharp. Humans don't quit. And that was the moment the galaxy understood why.